This project right here is what they refer to as the ugly drum smoker. Okay, so you're wondering, what is an ugly drum smoker? It's a vertical smoker, and it's no different than any of the other vertical smokers you might get, other than the cost, and hence the term ugly drum smoker, because most people, when they get these, they just get a drum, grates in it, they build a fire in the bottom, and away you go. So over time, the design has been perfected to a point that there is a standardization, if you will, on generally how you build one of these. One of which is, you'll notice the pipe here on the side. This is an air inlet, one on each side, spout on the back. What becomes crucial then is air management. You usually get the term fire management. Well, you don't really have to maintain the fire as much in one of these. That's one of the benefits to a vertical smoker, is not exactly the same, but yet very similar to, if you're familiar with the green egg. Okay, it's a ceramic egg shape. It uses barely any charcoal. You just put like 6 little pieces in there, maybe some wood chips, and that will just burn and burn for a very long time. And it's so well insulated that the heat just kind of gets forced into there. And so you don't use as much fuel. Very similar, with the ugly drum smoker, kind of the same idea. You're going to have a fire basket in the bottom. You'll put some coals in there, and you won't need as many. However, you will need more than, say, a green egg, but they will burn for an extremely long time without you needing to mess with them. If you're looking, you ain't cooking. The beauty of one of these is once you get your coals in there and you arrange it just right, they're just going to burn on their own. However, the skill becomes managing your airflow, and then that's how you can maintain your temperature and it'll just stay for your entire cookout, however long that might be. When you build one of these, you get yourself a drum. You're going to need pipes on both sides for the air, and what you don't see here yet, which I do have, you'll put a valve up here on top. A little ball valve works best, and you can really just crank the air just right. One of the other things that becomes kind of crucial on these is this one's going to be set up with 2-tier racks in there. And what I'm also going to do is I've got temperature gauges. I'm going to put one at each rack level. Because what's kind of interesting in these, the characteristic that's pretty interesting of these drums is the heat. It's actually hottest up here on the top. You would think that, well, the fire's here, this is going to be hotter. Well, no, you put your temperature gauges in there and you'll quickly see that hottest point becomes here at the top. So air management is crucial to trying to get your heat just where you want it. And when you have both of those gauges, it allows you to see a reading at the grate. I mean, that's pretty much as simple as it gets. The other option, this is where many people, their design gets completely different. I've seen some where they just drilled a series of holes all the way around and just put a bunch of those stems with the little nipple caps there and on the top, and then they just took those off in order to, give air. I'm going to have a bit of a smokestack and some way of controlling the air on the top of that as well. That's another option that's pretty popular. Another thing that people have done that gets really extreme, let me back up to the simplicity of this. You could just have the drum, you have a lid, you could just take the lid off when you're cooking. You need to have some kind of air control. Now on the lid itself, you could just take the lid off when you want to cook and don't have to worry about nothing. Me, I'm going to hinge it, so I don't want to have to pull it off and have to be setting it somewhere. I think it's nicer if you can hinge it. There is one extreme option that people have done is a Weber grill, the large size, 24-inch that might be, I'm thinking. Whatever the biggest one is, big dome. Well, if you very carefully, the lid on a large size Weber is the exact same diameter as a 55-gallon drum. Now the lid will not set on top and hold itself, so what you end up having to do, it makes a little bit of modifications. But the cool thing about that is what many people do is you take your lid and you actually cut this lip off and you would weld that to the bottom of your Weber dome lid, And there you go. You've got probably the most awesome lip, because then you've got that extra height. You've got a lot of little options you can think about. So to give you an idea of what mine's going to be, I've got the pipes on the side, both sides, got 2 of them. I've got that valve. Now that's actually going to be the rear. We have 2 level of grates. I'm going to have 2 thermometers. This is going to be hinged. There is going to be a smokestack. And I think that's about it. I want to do a latch system so I can really lock this down. We'll see how that goes. And that's pretty much the gist of it. So now I'll move the camera and we'll take a peek inside. I'll give you an idea of how the inside's going to look. Okay, some of the goodies we've got for this. As you can see, I've got a couple Weber grates. It says 22.5 inch here. Fits absolutely perfect. These are pretty nice as well because they have little side flaps. You then could still maybe have some access to try to drop something down below. I've already got the holes drilled, and I'm going to have some U-bolts, stainless steel, that are going to be bolted on 3 positions here. I'm pretty particular, so I even got a cover to go on this thing, and this is meant for a vertical smoker cover. We got all our paint, engine paint. The thing you see on here at the bottom of this basket, I was pretty fortunate. One day I happened to be at the scrapyard, and this basket caught my eye, and immediately I was like, man, I got a perfect use for this. Okay, so now that I've shown you and gave you a quick little overview, let's actually get down to what it is you actually need to build an ugly drum smoker. And I'll give you some of my ideas and my thought process and why I did the things the way I'm doing them. So first and foremost, you need a drum. What you want specifically, if you can, like, we'll go from the best and work our way down. So the best thing you can get is you want a food safe drum. Some drum that you can verify was used for a food product. Mine had some kind of a grape juice concentrate in it. And then from there, you would move down to what we used to use in one of my welding classes. We made a lot of barbecues out of the half of a drum. We were using ones that had antifreeze in them. I mean, you still got to clean them, and antifreeze is toxic, but it's a lot better than knowing it had straight motor oil or something else like that in there that is extremely hazardous and doesn't really go away even when you heat it up. Since if you look at any other videos online, the first thing everybody usually does when they get a drum is you do what they call a burnout. And you just load that thing up with wood and you want to burn it to the point that the paint comes off on the inside and even on the outside. It makes it a lot easier for the sanding when you get ready to paint it. And then from that point on, anything you put on there, what I would like to add is don't use anything galvanized. Preferably get stainless steel. You're going to have better results. Specifically, what seems to be the norm, or as I said earlier, the standardization, is you want to use 3/4 inch pipe. And of course, black pipe is the perfect choice. Then moving on to the parts, as I said before, you can get off the shelf Weber grates for the 22.5 inch grill size, which I think this is the large size. Fits perfect inside. I'm going to just use some straight engine paint, high heat engine paint that I found at local auto parts store. They even have a primer in there, so I'm going to go all out. There's going to have so many layers. You know, I'll have a primer layer and then the main color. And I'm even going to be a little creative, and my pipe I'm going to paint with the gunmetal here. And then that'll be all set. What else did I add here? Of course, you saw the cover. And I even got some nice barbecue thermometers. These aren't, they look like the high-end professional ones. They're not. They are the cheapo ones. So as I said, I don't want to sacrifice on the ability to have high-end experience, but I don't want to pay the price for the high-end. And that pretty much wraps it up on what you're going to need. You know, you're going to need pipe. And what's nice about when you build these ugly drum smokers is everything is meant to be off-the-shelf items. So you can build one of these for very limited tools. I would say it's safe to say you only need a drill and a decent, you know, hole saw, which you could probably just go buy a unibit and go to Harbor Freight and get one of those little unibits, and that's all you need to build a whole darn thing. other than the fire basket. Now that's could be a little creative, but I know there's lots of videos where this is something that anybody can make. You don't need to know how to weld. There's no woodworking involved. It's all just a wrench, a crescent wrench, and a drill. And then of course all of the hardware, and you can make one of these. So, and then another tip, remember I mentioned earlier about my fire basket and I was going to get some spring handles. Well, again, being on the cheap, I didn't want to buy the nice spring handles for a fire pit. So one of the little tips I have for you is that, well, I acquired these for free, but if you're ever in desperate need for a spring handle, you go to Harbor Freight, go to the welding section, and you get what's called a chipping hammer. Cut off, there's a couple little areas where you'll cut the welds and you've got yourself handle. So hopefully I provided enough information to inspire you to want to make your own ugly drum smoker. As this is the first one I've ever built, so you'll get to see how it turns out for me, and then maybe that'll save you some money in the long run. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.